Well, hello, I'm Dwayne. I'm just taking a look here and seeing if hello, I'm Dwayne. And some call me the source whisperer because of what I do, bringing people back to their true nature. I am trying out something here new, which is a webinar program. And sometimes it goes off and sometimes it doesn't. It shows that I have two viewers, but if the viewers would put a hello in the chat room to see if you're seeing the chat room, that would be helpful. So the chat room is to the right of you there, and you could put a hello in there. That would be cool. That would let me know that this is working. So, what is it to do what I do to help people come back to their true nature? Well, we were all born with something more than what we were told. We were trained to do something different. We were trained to become basically less than what our potential is as a being. And what I do is help you to come into your true nature, something grander than you've been told. It lives right within you. I studied hypnotherapy for years. I practiced hypnotherapy for years. I still do. But my work has changed, and it's changed to a level of working with people to help them dehypnotize, because I discovered I was already in a state of hypnosis. So was everyone else. We were already in a state of hypnosis that taught us that we're less than, that we can't do anything for ourselves. And as I started to understand what what they called the subconscious mind is, I began to question that sort of thing. I began to question what a subconscious mind would be if, when you take a look at it, I'm sitting here talking to you, my heart's beating, I'm breathing, I'm digesting food, I'm fighting off viruses, as we all are. And to me, that isn't very subconscious at all. That's actually above consciousness. It can think and react and do things faster than what consciousness can do. So I don't think that that's a subconscious at all, right? I think that's above consciousness. And so I started to look at the way that I was doing things, who we are really, and what we're being programmed and convinced of, what we're being convinced that we're not. And I started to discover miracles. Somebody once said to me, or somebody wrote on a video, that I'm a person that is on the quest for God consciousness. And that's true. I am on a quest for God consciousness, and I'm finding it in you. When I look into you and find that aspect of you that can make the changes in your life, it's not about me being the healer. It's about you understanding who you are and you coming into your own healer within and making a kind of a new relationship with that aspect of yourself. We usually are in this kind of a relationship with ourselves where we're fighting ourselves. And instead, we should be in a relationship with this greater part of our mind where we're in union with it, rather than being separate of it. That's what I think. This greater part of us, when we start asking it to do things, it's more than happy to. It's basically been ignored for a long time. I have someone here who's requesting to come in to ask a question, so I will see if I can do that right here. There, let's see if she can come in. It's Robin. I don't know, it doesn't seem to be pulling her in. So if Robin, if you want to request again, you can do it again, and I'll bringing you into the live question and answer here. If at any time you have any questions, please put them in the chat room here, and I will do my best to answer your questions. Yeah, and just don't mind me. I'm going to go over and take a look and go, what am I, as I look at the chat. So I discovered that this greater part of us can do things. I've seen some absolute miracles with this, and it's not me doing a healing on them. It's about them doing their own healing and getting to know this God consciousness, this greater part of themselves. So this is the interesting twist to this, is that we always hear it all over the place. We're the ones we're waiting for, but we don't even know who we are. We've been well convinced and well hypnotized to stay out of who we are. And because if we knew who we were, we wouldn't be dependent on certain things. We would be, closer and closer to our own source, really. So if you heard that video, I hope you did. It talks about, it's a poem that I wrote, and it's about the fact that we're only ever convinced that we're not this source energy. We are it. And we have came here, most of us at this point in time, in our world of things, to begin to open up to helping others raise vibration on the planet, to do our part, one person at a time, to shift this vibration of the planet. We are these ones, the ones we've been waiting for. It's become a cliche now, but the truth is that no one's coming except you, coming out and becoming this aspect of energy, vibration that sees freedom, that sees the shift and change. We're convinced a lot of times to not allow ourselves to be the full potential that we are, to be our own passion. We have a critic inside that criticizes us and tells us that who are we to be that? And these things are worth getting rid of, worth questioning, worth transforming in your life. This is what I help people to do. I help people to get rid of the critic and to move into a very loving voice inside, a very supportive voice that takes them to higher levels. Like I said before, it's kind of like trying to grow a plant in the dark and you bring them out into the light. That's what it feels like to let go of your critic and come into that, into your true nature, into that relationship with self, because that ends all of the self-esteem problems. In studying this for years, working with clients, I began to realize that this internal voice that constantly nags on us and tells us that we're not amounting to much and all continuously disappointed in us, that voice isn't productive at all. In fact, I begin to see that voice inside of us as more of a program than it is us. I watch babies, and babies don't have a critic. They just love who they are, and they love everything around them, right? They just love. And so I question, when did we pick up this critic? When did we start being critical of ourselves? And then you take a look, and it's when we entered school, probably. Maybe earlier for some of us, but it's when we started to develop this self-critic, literally, that keeps us floating just below the radar. We don't want to act too outlandish because, of course, the rest of the world will take a dim view of that, right? And then we start developing a gauge, our own governor, that governs us from actually being all that we are because we're afraid what other people might think of us. In fact, that's the number one phobia there is out there, is what do other people think of me? And that phobia keeps people down, keeps people in their house, sitting on their Chesterfield and not doing anything because they're afraid to step out. And now we have this critic, which is the internal voice inside of us that assists in that process while we're doing it. While we're wanting to do something, it assists to keep us down. I've got a video on my website, innerbalancehypnotherapy.com, and there's a section there called The Critic, and I explain how that critic keeps us from actually moving into our own greater consciousness. That over here in this programmed consciousness that all of us have experienced, have went through this programmed consciousness that we have to be a certain way, and that's it. And if you're outside of those parameters, you must be crazy. That critic slaps us back into that every time we venture out. It's a self-governing mechanism. And I think if you can follow me here, you can understand when you picked it up, if you have one. You picked it up when you were in school. You picked it up when you were meeting new friends. It wasn't okay to be you and the magical self that you are. You had to dummy it down. And there's a lot of people that come to these sessions and come to the tours that I'm on that talk about this aspect of themselves that is much more, but they're afraid to be it. So this is called the critic that keeps us in this low vibration, just below the radar. And it's time to bust out, I think. It's time to come out. It's time to step into who we truly are. If any of you have any questions, just pop it into the chat room, please, and I can answer your questions. I know the chat room works now because Lars and Julie and Helen and Julie, Wendy, they've all responded. So you don't fool me. I know it works. So put your questions in. And if you want to come on live and ask the question, there's a place to request to come in live, or just chat on the chat room and say that you'd like to ask a question live, because I can do a little work with you too, if that's helpful. So we have a lot of support at this point in time to help us come into our true nature, to come into our own. It's like the whole universe and all the beings there are more than willing to assist in doing that. And I see Julie has asked to come in as a speaker, and so I have bear with me, I haven't used this all that much. When they put their hand up, there's this feature here where I can bring them in, and you might have to ask your question, Julie, in the chat box, because it doesn't seem like it's pulling you in. I might go to the admin here and find you and pull you in this way, and let's see. Yeah, there it is. Well, it says it's pulling you in, but I don't see you. Odd, eh? Yeah. It takes, I've just, T asked a question here. Does it take a long time? Not necessarily. Usually it takes a short amount of time to be able to go through this, step into your true nature, begin to do your own work, your own clearing, your own, to be able to free yourself up. This isn't a long time therapy. I mean, we'll cover quite a few things depending on what it can be. There's different levels, right? As you know, Kelly's doing implant removals. I'm removing the critic. And so we get to experience different levels of clearing, right? And then enter into our own God consciousness. So it doesn't necessarily take a long time. The only thing that takes a long time is how convinced a person is that one thing is more scary in their life than than another thing. So if they're really, really frightened, that that this has so much power to overtake them or do things with them, the quicker they learn that they're actually free of it and they're actually making this part that powerful, that it's from their own energy, the quicker they get that, the faster it happens. So it can happen really quickly for some people, and for some people they've been scared a bit, and so that it takes a little while for that fear that something could have control over them or something is doing something to them. And so as the moment that we realize we're the power and we're the ones that are giving power to something that is, say negative in energy, then the sooner we realize it's us that's giving it that power, the quicker we are to coming out and realizing that, nothing can bother you. Some more questions here. I hope that answers it for you, T. So Denise asks, how do you know when you've removed the inner critic? And you can't do that consciously. The thing of it is that you need to address the god, the goddess within to remove it. That's when it's permanent. It can still come back and try to tease you, but once you understand that it isn't you anymore, because so many people identify with the critic, once you realize it isn't you anymore, it can never come back the same way again. And when I'm doing the sessions, we do the test to test it to come back, and it doesn't come back. And the critic itself, it's just like a pair of shoes. Once you've outgrown it as a pattern, or once you've outgrown this pair of shoes, they don't fit anymore. It's too tight. Once you've removed the critic and then you filled that space with the loving inner voice, it's shifted. So like I say, you can't really do this consciously. You have to work a way that you get your God within to do it, or your goddess within to do it, and you sit there and witness. So many people try to do it consciously and it doesn't pull off because there's too many things involved with removing a critic. But the God within you knows exactly how you go together and exactly how to shift whatever it is that needs to be shifted, to move it, knows what to unplug it. Whereas we consciously don't know. And that's one of the biggest things is people have a tendency to try to do everything consciously. The thing of it is that it's a known fact that you can only hold 7 bits of information in your conscious mind anyway at any given time. So what's happening out there in the world is people are bombarding themselves with too many conscious things to do, instead of putting it in an automatic pattern, like a pattern you did when you learned to tie your shoes. Yes, you did it a couple of times and you messed it up, and then finally you got it, and then it went into a pattern. As soon as it went into a pattern, you were able to do it, and you're still doing it yet today. The same thing with riding a bicycle. When you put that balance into a pattern, the next thing you know, there it was, and it's stuck. And yet today you can jump on a bicycle and ride it, because it's a pattern that's set up inside of you. And that pattern is set up inside of you on a other level. It's not on a conscious level anymore. So you're not consciously thinking about doing it. So what I try to do in my work is to move everything into an unconscious pattern. So it's a pattern that's happening rather than you sitting there trying to think about it. I like to work with people where the start of anxiety, say, moves you into laughter rather than trying to do something consciously, so that the pattern is there that triggers the beginning pattern of anxiety, triggers joy, so that you lead off into these things. That's what come, if you've heard, the work that I do is relatively quick and fast and easy, because it's not you consciously and it's not me consciously doing it. It's the God within you and the Goddess within you that's doing the work and setting up these patterns. Just looking at questions here again. Okay, that was on the critic. So Linda asks if I can teach how to clear ourselves. Of course, that's what I do all the time, is teach people how to clear the critic, how to clear. Remember, you can set up almost anything for yourself as well, as long as you set it up in a cause and effect pattern. When I do this, this will happen. One thing that we don't know in society is that cause and effect patterns are happening all the time to us. We're constantly in a cause and effect a pattern. If you do that, this will happen. That's a cause and effect. So you can do many things. I'm not kidding you on how simple this is to work with. If you were to get, say for instance, you just used your own hand and you clear, this equals removing this aspect. Or if something comes at you as far as a negative feeling, you just take your hand and you move it back out. This equals moving it out. As long as you can have the emotional hallucination of it moving out as you do that, you're going to do it, because that's how you communicate with that greater part of your mind. It has to be communicated to in a direct manner of what you want. The world is so stuck on what they don't want. This is what the problem is. Like my old teacher said one time, he said, humans don't have problems. They have a lack of imagination because they can't imagine their own solution. And so this is what we're working with here, is having people go from the very programmed left brain analytical logical concept moving to right brain, because that's what's missing, and that's why we're having problems, is because we're too far over to one side. And so if we start creating solutions, you can create your own solutions. You can imagine feeling wise. This is called emotional alchemy in my work. You can feel emotionally a hallucination of what it would feel like to move an emotion out of your body and just float it out like a balloon. And what would it feel like with that emotion leaving your body? You need to go through that in your own imagination. And then guess what? That greater part of your mind starts doing it, because you're showing it what you want. Think about it this way. People that talk all the time about my anxiety, another thing is that people own these things, and they shouldn't, by the words. And the words are magic. The anxiety would be a much better thing than saying my, because you own it. You're bringing it inside. If you said the anxiety, you're moving it out of your being. It's just simple word magic that gets people into trouble. But as you're saying that anxiety or moving that emotion out, you can see it in your mind, hear it, and then feel it. You want to utilize all three of these systems to start doing your work: the visual, the auditory, and the feeling. And as you feel, see, hear it move out, you can hear it go out. The thing that is that greater part of your mind sees what you want. People often say, I don't want anxiety. And I'll say, okay, I understand that, but what do you want? And they'll go, well, I just don't want to feel anxious anymore. And I go, I know, but what do you want? You see, I'm stretching them to go to their right brain and actually create a solution. And they go, well, I don't know. And that's the problem. You see, they never thought about what they wanted to do. If they thought about what they wanted to do, it makes healing very, very simple and a short time in it, because you're focusing on what you want this greater aspect of you to do. And of course, remember, this greater aspect built you in the first place. It knows how you go together. It wasn't you consciously that built yourself and put the cells together and put the atoms together. It was something much greater than that. And when you tap into that aspect and you start showing it what you want it to do, it'll do it. But so many people are stuck on what they don't want and focusing on that. They're just spinning analytically, logically in it. And we need to shift over to the right mind to be able to create solutions. It's that very place that you were told never to go in school. Yeah, well, you have to balk the system and go into your right brain and start utilizing your creativity. And it's amazing what you can start to do. So somebody else is asking a question here, Wendy. Here's a common thing that Wendy's bringing up, and I hear this all the time, is are there people that are difficult to hypnotize? I need you to understand something. Take that and flip it the other way. So when I talk about the societal mask, when I talk about going through the school system and being programmed or convinced to be somebody else other than who you truly are, that's the hypnosis that got you limited. Everyone can be hypnotized because they have been. If you ever watch somebody watching television, it only takes a few minutes and boom, there they are, mouth open, eyes, or they're falling asleep, right? Because they're going into a trance very, very quickly. The thing of it is that if you don't know about and you don't believe in or this greater part of you, then you've been hypnotized. You've been hypnotized to limitation. It's very easy to come out of hypnosis and then start to program yourself the way you want to be. I look at it this way because I teach hypnotherapy as well, but my approach is different, and it's okay. I teach hypnotherapy in a way that people understand what the hypnotic process is within the being so that you can be a therapist for that. So that you understand what's happening and how people are getting what they don't want all the time, or this sort of thing, because they're so programmed into that. So I help people come out of hypnosis, the unproductive hypnosis. Once they get into this place of neutrality, they can start creating for themselves. So is it hard to get somebody into hypnosis? No, everyone is. Everyone's in a trance and everyone is believing all kinds of weird things that are limiting. I help you come out of that state of hypnosis. And there you are in this space that is a trance, that you can create whatever you want to create. It's very easy, actually. Very simple. If you don't think that a trance is, I wave a watch in front of you, you go out and you start drooling. This is not the style that I work with at all. In fact, what you find with my style is that I look at you and we start to breathe a little bit together. And the next thing you know, you're going into this space with me. And it's very easy to go into that space with me because it's the absence of hypnosis. You see, it's the absence of the hypnosis that's happened to you. And so you move into this space of neutrality where you get to create for yourself what you want to create. So out of all my students, and I have students all over the world, they have experienced different styles, and they said they can't believe how easy this style is to go into that state of hypnosis and to have things done. Now, I don't do deep trances because I was involved in a clinic that we did that at one point in time, and we found it wasn't as effective as having it eyes open and going into a trance state that way. And it's up to them if they want to close their eyes or not. We're not forcing anything. And all of a sudden there was a bridging happen. The true problem, one of the other true problems is this greater mind and your conscious mind are separate, way out here separate. And that's another reason why I don't call it a subconscious mind. I call it the God within, or I call it the greater mind. Because when we start to bridge, and we can do that by going into a trance state, looking out our own eyes and having this aspect come out and meet, and this aspect connect again to our conscious self, that we're a more powerful being when we're undivided. Remember, together we stand, divided we fall. And there was a reason why the mind was divided, and it was divided a very, very long time ago. If you listen to the old writings of Zeus being a god that was jealous, and he knew that humanity was going to reach that level of God consciousness, Zeus supposedly back then put them into a state of hypnosis and split them apart. Now, I see it as he split the hemispheres. He did something to convince those hemispheres to split. And so we had the right brain and left brain. I see it that way. I know the stories say something different, but that people had 4 heads and 4 arms and 4 legs, and he split them in 2. But I see it differently. I see it as there's actually a split, and I see it, a split in the brain. There's a split in left brain, right brain thinking. And that we're way over on the left too far. And that's how come we're having troubles. But so Zeus put them into hypnosis and split them into 2. And you can read it. I believe he did. And I believe this is the work we're doing, is we're bringing that back. We're bringing back that power within people at this time because it's important to. Any more questions here? So Denise is asking, how does this go with the ego and removing the critic? I found that the critic is the voice of the ego. I feel that when we do this, and you come into this loving aspect, whether you're female or male, you come into this loving aspect that gives you feedback all the time that keep going, you can do it, I believe in you. All these things, that when we have that and we're doing that, this aspect of us becomes more and more comforted, right? Whereas the ego would like to have you think that you're not okay, which it does lots of the time. So removing the critic does do a good job of diminishing the ego. Andrea talked about here and is asking the I am statements. If you have someone who says I am sick, aren't they? And someone who says I am excited, I am happy, I am delighted, aren't they? Whatever you say after the I am statement, you'll become. So you want to start changing that, because that is personal word magic. You'll become whatever it is, even if it feels like a lie at first. If you say, you're sitting here and you go, I am ecstatic, that feels like a lie. But if you keep practicing it, what happens is when you say the word, you're actually keying in this part of the mind and you're seeing yourself ecstatic. You can't say it unless you see it. And the next thing you know, it starts happening. So the more you say it, the more it starts happening to you. And the next thing you know, you're changing. It's alchemy, personal alchemy. We're so hooked into the fact that our reality is coming to us and that there's nothing we can do about it. While there is, because guess who's creating that reality coming to you? You are, in your present moment vibration. You're creating through this vibration what's coming to you tomorrow and the next day and the next day. Now, it takes only seconds to start shifting your vibration in the present moment. And the next thing you know, you're creating something different, right? And this seems to override. It's like you get a new timeline when you shift vibrational frequency in yourself. So the more things that you can I am about, I am the light that shines through me. I am the light that shines through me. I've never been born, nor will I ever die. I am eternal. And you start saying things that bring up your power and your energy, and you're going to be manifesting something totally different because it's all coming from this present moment vibration. This is why I'm very, very careful with my therapy, that I'm not taking people back into the past and rehearsing everything on that timeline that happened to them, because it brings the present moment vibration down. And when it does, then they start manifesting the same thing that matches that feeling. When they do that, the next thing you know, they're depressed and they're on something for the depression. When all we have to do is deal with the past events in an eloquent way that doesn't bring the present moment vibration down, actually gives the person back their power over the situation, and then they can start raising their vibration and feel unhooked from that. Because think about it, a lot of us could raise really high very quickly, but we have all of these hooks in us from the past. Well, I can't do that because that wouldn't be good. Well, or I can't do that because my family isn't like that, or I can't do that because, and all these are truly are excuses not to go up. And so when we start unhooking them, these excuses to raise your vibration, and we take good care of, there's certain parts that we have to take good care of, but there's a specific way to do that, that all of a sudden you'll start raising vibration in an hour session, two sessions, 3 sessions. You'll start raising vibration, and you're going to be changing your manifestation, because it's everything to do with what you're feeling in this present moment. Any other questions here? Anyone else have a question? I see a hand up again. I don't know if that's true. Is that true? Someone has their hand up. Yeah, Julie, but she never did come in. Well, I guess that's... Now, if people could leave me, tell me, when I played that video, did it actually come on here? Because I'm also learning about this. So if you could answer me, please, and let me know if when I played that video back then, did it come on, or did you just see this round circle and a picture of me? Please let me know in the chat box. You could send it telepathically too, but in the chat box probably works good too. Well, I don't see anybody answering me yet. But yeah, when I play those videos, they're supposed to come full screen, and you see them, full screen. Okay. Clarify a lot. No. Yes, it did. Well, then I'm going to do something interesting here. because I have no sense showing you a video unless it actually plays. But I have something called free will activation that's worth the watch. And so I'm going to load that and play it for you here. So if you could put in the chat screen what you seen, did you actually see the video or did it play? It would help me to know. And could you hear it? So if you could put that in the chat screen, at least we got the chat screen going this time, which is a lovely thing because I can actually answer questions. But to be honest with you, I feel that I'm probably going to use a different process next time. This one here is way too tricky. And I think probably I'm just going to go to live stream off of YouTube and do it that way. You won't be able to be pulled into to ask questions, but it's not functioning anyway because I tried to pull Julie in and she's not coming in. She's still on the pull in, but anyway, so we'll I will definitely look forward to your answers here. Yeah, so and so the video, I still see the video. Okay, so the video did come on. Yeah, so, and could you hear it? Could you hear it the whole way through, or did it come in and out? I'd like to know those things if you don't mind before we go. In the next day, just give me some time tonight to get it rigged around. In capital letters, magic for you, right? In capital letters. That's a code that you can use on my website for you that attended the webinars here to get a discount. You're just going to have to give me some time. It'll be up tomorrow, some time tonight to get it reset up again, because but magic for you. And that will be a code for you to get 10% off anything on my site. So thank you for coming out to the event. And there's 23 of us. It comes and goes, and it's been down to 8 and back up. And I think that probably if I just use, and I'm going to do that, use live stream off YouTube, it'll probably be better. And everybody can just view it and watch it. There will be a chat screen, and we can chat there and ask the questions, and I'll be able to as well to put the videos up and put up different things that I want you to see of my own. Got to stay within the law. Yeah. Don't want to be a rebel, put a wrong video in, But yeah, and thank you for coming out. And I'm getting ready to wrap it up here for tonight. If there's any other questions, just pop it in the chat screen here before I end up going. Yeah, so it looks like we're ready to go. You can find me on Facebook, Dwaine Hartman, on Facebook. My website is innerbalancehypnotherapy.com, and that'll be I was going to say below the chat screen or below this video, but I don't know. But if you look me up on Facebook, you'll find me, DWAINE Hartman, HARTMAN. I'm on Facebook, and the website is innerbalancehypnotherapy.com. Come give me a shout if you need some assistance, because it's not going to be a long time project. Once we go right brain and we start doing the healing work from that aspect and not being analytical about it, it can happen rather quickly. And it's, again, just to reassure you, it's not me doing it to you. It's actually you getting to know the greater part of you and you doing it, so you get to take those tools with you. That's the nice part, is that you don't need me for a long time. And you get to know who you are. That's always the way I've ran the show ever since 1999. So thank you for coming out. Blessings to you. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.